Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Career-puccino on Monday, the 18th of October. It's definitely feeling autumnal here, just near Cambridge in the UK. Hopefully you are cozy wherever you might be. And importantly, that you have a cup of coffee ready to go for this 20-minute boost. The idea behind Career-puccinos is that you come along with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Mine is black coffee in a rabbit mug today. You come along and we talk about something of importance to postdoc kind. And this comes from my experience of working with postdocs and knowing the big decisions that happen during your postdoc. And so today we are going to talk about those decisions and thinking about decision making. I'm often asked, how do you make that decision? Or I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. I definitely don't do that. Your career is your career. The only person who's going to prioritize your career is you. But along with that comes a wealth of decisions. You're on a fixed term contract, and there is necessarily going to be a decision about what shall I do next in the mix. That's, part and parcel of being a postdoc and having that fixed term contract. And I came across this framework whilst reading a really useful book. And so we're going to explore this framework a little bit today and give you some tips and tricks for making those all-important career decisions. So what we're going to use is a framework called WRAP. And don't worry, I'll come on and explain the acronym in a minute because it is WRAP, an acronym. And it's from this little book called Decisive by Chip and Dan Heath. Actually, I've read several of their books. And if you like books with plenty of anecdotes and practical advice, I can strongly recommend their books. The other one, I think, which is called Made to Stick, is about sticky marketing messages, which is still quite relevant to postdoc kind, but we'll come on to that another time. But this one, for sure, you've got the rock, paper and scissors on the front. Not a great way to make a decision. But their framework, I think, is very useful, especially when it's what do I do next is the big decision that most postdocs are facing. So we'll explore the WRAP along with some tips and tricks from me. So the first one of this acronym is W, is widen your options. Quite often with postdocs, they come to me with a very sort of linear decision, an on-off, black and white state. So it's like, shall I do another postdoc? Yes or no? And that's their career option going forward. Really, that's only one option in two states, yes or no. What they encourage and what I definitely do work with postdocs on is widening the options. If no one has told you today, you are a highly literate, numerate, problem-solving, project managing ninja. You are a wonder as a postdoc. You've got all the skills from your PhD and then all the skills from your one postdoc, two postdocs, however many postdocs you're on. You are a fantastically able person. And therefore, you have a wealth of career options. Now, some of those you might not want to pursue, and that's absolutely fine. But anyone who says to me, I'm so highly trained, I can't possibly do anything else. Coming from a postdoc, that is absolutely not true. I will tell them that, like, you have got so many choices. The world is crying out for people who are literate and numerate with good communication skills, which is the majority of postdocs. If we then look into your specialised skills, again, there are a wealth of employers out there who are interested in those. So you aren't too specialised to have a wealth of options. Yes, one of those options going forward might absolutely be, shall I do another postdoc? But you've got other options. And I always encourage a scan of those options, even if you're fairly sure that fellowship is your next route. Partly because nothing in this world is certain, unfortunately, and getting a fellowship, as I'm sure you know, is hugely competitive. So what's your plan B? What's your plan C? Have you investigated plans D and E? So I force my postdocs, I encourage my postdocs to have that look at the other options, even if they're fairly sure that they're on an academic path. One of the best ways to do this is to go to a very open job site. I'm sure regular listeners know I love the Guardian job site. So that's a newspaper in the UK. And they have a very nice job site. You can put in science or technology. Bear in mind, you might come between the two. And you suddenly got this wealth of jobs that are usually not academic. So quite often people look for jobs in the academic pool. So places like jobs.ac.uk. If you go to a bigger website, you're going to get a wider connection of jobs. And looking at those jobs and understanding your options, really important. If you come across a job title where you don't understand, the rules of the game are drill down, look at the job description. What does that mean? Your ideal job might be hiding behind a job title that you didn't understand. Why widen your options? When you're busy, you've got to put everything you've got into applying for a fellowship or the next postdoctoral position. It's important to see what else is out there. Quite often we are on one of those travelators in our careers, you know, that they get at the airport, those flat moving walkways, and we think, yeah, I'm just going to carry on this walkway, hop off onto another contract, I'm going to carry on. And there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but you might be missing a career that gives you more work-life balance, more intellectual freedom, all sorts of things might be out there. And until you've investigated, you can't tell me for sure whether that is true or false. So widening your options is really, really important, and something that I think we don't do enough of as postdocs. The next one, I love this wibbly wobbly mirror picture on the slides, is reality check your ideas. I have very good colleagues whose favourite phrase is, do you think that, or do you know that? Let's take the myth of, I won't get any autonomy if I take an industrial job. You know, some industrial jobs absolutely want that creative space. They might carve out days for your own project. I think Google was famous for offering its employees time to just do their own thing. So don't automatically assume that what you've heard on the grapevine is true. Check your ideas. So if we're thinking of applying for a fellowship, how many fellowships are out there? What's the success rate? Every fellowship pretty much puts their success rate on their webpage so that you know the odds. You're not just stabbing at something in the dark. You know the odds. You understand the reality of that. Likewise, if you were thinking of perhaps going for a lectureship, how many lectureships in your discipline are advertised in the countries where you are interested in working in? Do you have the skills required for the roles that you're thinking of? Have you double checked? are you assuming, oh, well, they'll need a project management qualification, when actually the job description says that could be desirable, but it's not essential? I'm a big fan of going back to the job descriptions. They're often the source of so much information that we can add to the shopping list of things that we want to do, but also it's that reality check of like, okay, this is what they want, and this is my experience, and I can match it in these ways. Another great way, so you can do the numbers, understanding the number of jobs that are out there, where they're advertised, what they're called. But another great way of reality testing whether it's right for you is to dig into the day-to-day. Tap up your network and say, right, could I have 15 minutes for you to tell me what it's like working day-to-day for AstraZeneca, or day-to-day as a patent attorney, day-to-day as an engineer at Rolls-Royce, whatever it might be, so that you've got not only the numbers, which will satisfy our inner scientists, but you've got the other part of it, which is that human story. Is what that person describes to you in just a 15-minute video call, doesn't have to be longer than that, something that sets your heart alight, or is it something that leaves you cold? So quite often that really granular reality test can be something that's really important. I wouldn't just take one person say so. You might have got them on a bad day. They might be in the wrong role for them. So ask 2 or 3 people what it's like. Get a good picture of what's happening around you. Ooh, good slurp of coffee there required. Okay, so we've done W, which is widen your options. R, which is reality check your ideas. A is attain distance, which I think is kind of cheating because it probably should be D. But anyway, so we're all really good at social distancing now. You know, kind of, I think we automatically know what our meter, what our 2 meters, whatever it might be, is. That's what we need to do with decisions. So when we've made a decision, it can feel hot, it can feel raw, it can feel all-consuming. And this, especially with career decisions, you know, the decision over what to have for lunch, what type of coffee to drink, less important. But for big decisions, they can feel like really weighty things. So we need to attain some distance. There are several ways that we could do that. One which they suggest in the book is thinking forward into different times as to what that might look like. So they use 10, 10, 10. First one is 10 minutes time. So you've made the decision. How big a deal is that going to be in 10 minutes? 10 minutes takes me to the end of my career-puccino. Okay. How big a deal is that? It's probably still going to feel pretty raw. The next 10 is 10 months out, which is sometime next summer, end of next summer. How will it feel then? Will it matter so much? Will I have, I don't know, if I've chosen to do another postdoc, it will have started then, I might be in post. What does that look like? We'll come on to testing whether that was a good decision or not in a minute. But you've made a decision, you're probably, you know, kind of motoring along. The next 10 is the killer. For me, certainly, because I'm approaching a big birthday, is 10 years' time. Will this decision, what impact will it have had in 10 years' time? And these things aren't to beat us up, but they're just to kind of give us some perspective, some distance on a decision that right now is feeling really hot and raw, but actually in the grand scheme of things might not actually be that important. Other ways of attaining distance are to work with other people. So to talk about your decision with a critical friend. So I don't mean a horrible friend. I mean someone who will critically help you with that decision. So they will use open questions. How does that make you feel? What information have you got? Why have you decided to go down this route? All those sorts of things to help you clarify your decision. I'm a great one for clarity in the conversation. Just talking it out loud can be hugely powerful when you're talking through decisions. I'm a member of a couple of business development groups, and just the ability to talk through my decision-making process with some witnesses, and you suddenly go, oh, actually, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Because that jumble in my head, which has been chasing round and round, has come out. I've had to give it some structure. I've had to give it some form in order to explain it to someone. And quite often that in and of itself can give enough distance that we've gone, okay, I know where I'm going with this now. Other people that you can talk to, people like myself, so coaches and trainers, perhaps research developers where you are based, can often help in a one-to-one setting with those career decisions. Don't forget your career service at your particular university or institute, because they can be really, really helpful when it comes to this as well. They're trained to do this. So no career decision is ever too silly for a careers service. They are trained to help you reach the appropriate decision for yourself. So distance you can look at in time. You can give yourself that clarity in the conversation with people, but I think you can also give yourself space. So if I've been bounded in my office and, I made the decision in my office, actually, kind of that feels contained and it feels right in this setting. But perhaps if I go for a walk and let that mull through, so I'm giving myself the physical space to give myself some distance, then again, that might give me a bit of insight. And quite often, certainly for me, I know that if I'm walking or I do archery, if I'm shooting some arrows, solutions will come to me because I've kind of taken my eye off the burning issue. I've given myself some distance. So distance really important. And the last one is P. So we've done W, R, A, and this is P, which is prepare to be wrong. Which is quite scary, isn't it? If you think, I've got to actually think that I'm going to get this wrong. It's not stating that you will get it wrong, but it's making sure that you have in place things that you can check in with. Is this still the right decision? So if you did take another postdoc, for instance, and that started in December, when are you going to review that decision? When are you going to check that it was a sensible decision to make? I wouldn't do it in the first week because no one really enjoys the first week in a new job. It's very unsettling. Everything's in the air. You're going through the change curve. But it might be worth checking in a couple of months down the line. Is this job what I thought it was? Is it giving me the things that I need? There might be things over and above. It might be beyond your dreams. But it's good to have that check and go, yeah, it's doing this, this, and this. And I hadn't expected this. That acknowledgement can be really helpful. The flip side of that is, okay, the project wasn't what I thought it was. The lab isn't as big as I thought it was. I've got lots of responsibility, but I can't see how I'm going to publish. That's a really good call to have early doors in a postdoctoral contract where you can still fix things. It is too late waiting for 2 months before your contract's due to realise, actually, I didn't have the opportunity to publish or to learn this particular skill, or I haven't added anything to my CV. In the book, lovely little book, they call these tripwires. So what have you put in place that is going to force you, hopefully not to fall over, but to think, right, okay, I need to sit down. I need to think about whether this was the right decision. Another really good friend always says, only fossils are set in stone. So you made a decision with the best information that you had. You wouldn't make a decision without that. You did. You widened your options. You reality checked it. You attained some distance. All those things pointed to this being a correct decision. But now we're into it and we're, living that reality. Actually, it's not right. At which point you can change. No one is expecting you to stay there in a job that is wrong for you. And quite often postdocs are like, I can't leave until the end of my project. You absolutely can, within the confines of whatever notice period you've got. But you can move on to something else. There is a bigger and better and brighter role out there for you because you are super brilliant, highly literate, highly numerate, problem-solving, project managing ninjas. You can do anything you want. So there is something better out there. And so it's about then starting the process again. Quite often people will set that review and discover, actually, this is a great job. And I really do sincerely hope that for you all. But that prepared to be wrong and putting that scan in place, I think, is really, really helpful. Okay, well, that's the wrap on the wrap framework. I do recommend the book, highly useful for postdocs. If there are any questions, just pop them in the chat or the Q&A. I'll have a slurp of coffee to let that happen. It's good coffee. Okay, doesn't look like there are any questions. So I will love you and leave you. I wish you a highly productive, enjoyable week, wherever you might be. And I will see you next week where we will be talking about moving into finance. So if you know someone who would be interested in that, then do share the link with them. Thank you very much. Have a great week.